What has happened, everybody? James Hancock here. I'm back to review the Season 3 premiere of The White Lotus, written and directed by series creator Mike White, and he will be writing and directing every single episode this season, the same way he did the last season. And I love the fact that Mike White, he's basically being given the opportunity to be like an auteur storyteller in a format that's typically dominated by writers' rooms and or a lot of writer-producers. Even someone like Taylor Sheridan, who writes and produces a lot of TV, works with a staff of writers and directors and that sort of thing. But Mike White, he tells his stories his way. And I thought Season 1 was really good. And I thought Season 2 was considerably better. But here's my question. Talk me off the ledge. Is Season 3 going to be a disappointment? I'm seeing some warning signs, and I think the reason I might be feeling some warning signs initially is because we're being introduced to this giant new cast of characters. Obviously, our emotional investment is not there quite yet, whereas if we compare this episode to the Season 2 finale, it's kind of an unfair comparison because we had all those episodes of emotional investment. But I'm going to keep an open mind because I was way too excited about Season 3 to give up this early because the trailers are absolutely incredible. The trailers actually make me want to pop open a beer. And I feel like if you're going to talk about the White Lotus, well, then you deserve a cocktail or two or three. So cheers. And I'm not even really a big drinker, I'm more of a stoner. But I feel like there's something about that tropical environment in White Lotus, whether it's Hawaii or Sicily or now Thailand, where it just puts me in that tropical island mood and I want to drink. And I so rarely drink while doing videos. It's kind of a fun little experiment. I think the last time I had a drink was maybe during the season 4 finale for Succession. I think I actually chugged a glass of single malt during that video, but can't quite remember. Maybe because I was drinking single malt, but let's talk about the good and the bad for White Lotus Season 3. Here's what's got me concerned. According to a post over on Wikipedia, Mike White said that the third season would invoke a satirical and funny look at death and Eastern religion and spirituality, similar to how the first season focused on money and the second season on sex. And I feel like when I think of White Lotus, I think of humor, I think of sex, and I think of a little danger, a little violence. Every season has a little bit of murder and mayhem and violence to kind of spice things up a little bit. And usually they start with some sort of tragedy or a hint of some sort of tragedy, then go back a week and lead up to whatever horrible demise is awaiting some of the characters. And I have my suspicions about who might be going on that shooting rampage, but we don't know quite yet. But a few characters are being teased as the possible suspect. But I'm going to try and stay focused on the positive initially. And I like the new theme song. The theme song to Season 2 was a barn burner. I can remember after the Season 2 finale when I went to my gym the following day and they were blasting the theme song to White Lotus and I could see people were bobbing their heads and doing the treadmill and that sort of thing. I was like, all right, that's unusual when the theme song to a lighthearted comedic show about Sicilian prostitutes and that sort of thing and murderous plots can be like everybody's jam for getting their pump on, much like Arnold Schwarzenegger's son in this new season. What is it? Is it Patrick Schwarzenegger? I'm forgetting the actor's name. Hang on one sec. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Patrick Schwarzenegger as Saxon Ratliff, who, even though he's a bit of a dirtbag, he actually might be my favorite character so far, just because he looks so much like his father. It is uncanny. When he was swimming and he gets out and he's looking at all the girls in the pool and he sees those three old friends, he's like, cougars. But in any case, he doesn't talk like his father. I mean, he is the son of Maria Shriver and Arnie. Obviously grew up in America and he's got a very different kind of accent, but there's something about that kind of dirty smile that he has when he's scoping out the ladies or talking about jacking off with his younger brother. Wildly inappropriate scene, and I'm jumping around a bit, but maybe before talking about that, I see that this show is maintaining the current plague on modern society where HBO is so proud to constantly show off flaccid, limp wieners without any other form of nudity. And who knows, the season is young. We might see all kinds of crazy shit going on in Thailand. I assume we're going to see some crazy shit going on in Thailand. But what is it with the HBO fascination with limp little wieners? At a minimum, let the actor show off their what they've got fully engorged. Or if I were Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, I would say, look, I'm happy to be nude on camera all you like, but you got to let me show you what I got. But maybe I should not be talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger's son's dick quite so much, or people might start to talk. Let's talk about some of the other things, including his really annoying parents, played by Jason Isaacs and Parker Posey, two actors that I really like. I mean, I've been a fan of Parker Posey going back to the early mid-'90s when I first saw her in Dazed Confused, screaming air raid and that sort of thing.
All right, you little freshman bitches! Air raid! That was pathetic!
But I must say, as somebody who lived for a very, very long time in North Carolina, I hate their North Carolina accents. When they're talking about Carolina and Duke and all that stuff, it felt so inauthentic and so phony, I wanted to scream. And I don't always have the most fine-tuned ear for different accents, but I recently took the New York Times accent test, which I recommend everybody does. But after 20 questions, I got to the end of the quiz and it guessed, you're either from Winston-Salem or Greensboro, North Carolina. I was like, well, that is uncanny because I moved to Greensboro, aka the G-Spot, back when I was 9 years old, and I lived there pretty much. I went away to boarding school and college in Virginia, but my home was in North Carolina up through the late 90s before I moved to Los Angeles. But the accent stuck for whatever reason. I spent my 20s in LA, my 30s and 40s in New York. My accent is still Greensboro, North Kakalaki. And every single one of my siblings went to UNC Chapel Hill, so I'm very familiar with the love-hate relationship between Chapel Hill and Duke. And so I'm calling bullshit on anything and everything related to Duke and Carolina in the episode so far, except for the fact that the younger son, is showing some hesitance about going to Duke. I was like, all right, as somebody who's comes from a Carolina family, even though I went to UVA, I can respect the child's wishes not to go to Duke because unless you're from a Duke family, the rest of the world at large tends to despise Duke. I'm sorry if you went to Duke, I apologize, but not really, because once again, all my siblings went to Carolina, and y'all have been waging war for my entire life. As the old expression goes, to hate like this is to know true happiness forever. But I must say that I've been blown away by Mike White's success in recent years. He has the best job in the world. He gets to travel around the world with all these incredible actors and then write and direct every single episode of this hit show. And one of the main reasons I avoid a lot of TV is I can't stand writers' rooms. I can't stand storytelling by committee. I like singular storytellers with a singular vision. It's why I like books, and it's why I like movies that have a very strong directorial voice. But Mike White, in the world of television, is managing to be an auteur storyteller. And he has earned every bit of success that has come his way. But as far as some of the other characters are concerned, I like Walton Goggins as an actor quite a bit, but so far his character's not grabbing me. However, his girlfriend, played by Amy Lou Wood, is adorable. I think she's got the best buck teeth in all of showbiz worldwide. And I used to have horrible buck teeth when I was a kid. I looked up to my older brother who had buck teeth, and so I was trying to get them on purpose. And when I was driving in a car with my mom, I would dig my teeth into the leather of her seat and pull back, trying to get my teeth to be as buck as possible. I sadly did not pull off the look to the same degree as Amy Lee Wood, but she is just delightful in this, and offering tantric sex to her boyfriend, trying to cheer him up, and then befriending that model at the bar, which leads us to one of the many ongoing subplots across all the various seasons of The White Lotus. But I love how she's like, let's get pissed, or let's get sloshed, or she used some delightful English expression, and so I think the model's name is, Chloe? Yeah, Chloe, and the guy that she's dating is the character from seasons 1 and 2, John Grease, a.k.a. Greg Hunt. And when I think of him, I always think of the character he played in Napoleon Dynamite. It was like, how much you want to bet I can throw this football over the mountains? I mean, he was hysterical in Napoleon Dynamite. Like,
how much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains? Yeah, if Coach would have put me in fourth quarter, we'd have been state champions, no doubt.
Had me screaming and convulsing and throwing myself off the couch while watching it. And he goes all the way back. I think he was the little boy in that old Charlton Heston Western, Will Penny, back in the late 60s. He's been around for a long time. And I'm seeing here in the IMDb that Will Penny was directed and written by a fellow by the name of Tom Grease, who I'm assuming was either his father or his brother or his uncle, but I don't feel like looking it up now. But in any case, this actor's been around for a long time, but obviously tried to have his wife murdered in season 2. So it's interesting how the 3 seasons are totally separate, but there's certain ongoing characters and ongoing storylines without the seasons leading from one to the next quite so forcefully. But Natasha Rothwell, she's back from season 1. She was definitely a fan favorite from season 1. I'll be curious to see where her arc goes. What I worry with this season, and this is just a personal bias on my part, that we're going to get every single episode about wellness and meditation and health, and I'm going to fucking die of boredom. And this is just my own personal baggage. I don't consider myself a particularly spiritual person. I'm not into meditation. I'm not into any of that. If I want to achieve a meditative sense of calm, a good book will get the job done. I smoke a little weed, get in the bathtub, read for an hour, and I'm home. I mean, I'm like, wherever people go to when they're meditating or doing yoga or whatever, I get there with a great book. It's what kind of lets my brain, unplug from all the distractions and all the devices and that sort of thing. So I guess however people choose to get there is their own business, but I can't stand the idea of having to subject myself to an entire season all about spirituality and meditation. Hopefully there'll be some hell raising. Once again, they're in Thailand. I want to see people going fucking insane, like something out of was it number one? Or no, was it number 2 or number 3 of the Hangover movies where they go to Thailand? I think number 2. In any case, I want to see some weird fucking shit. And hopefully we'll get there through the characters played by Leslie Bibb, Carrie Coon, and Michelle Monaghan. 3 actresses that I've had like hardcore crushes on at different stages throughout their career. I love all 3 of these actresses, and I love how they, while they're having their cocktails, and speaking of which, they're so busy showering each other with praise and compliments, and it's just not going very well. It seems to be escalating the tension as opposed to diffusing the tension. And I can't remember who said it, but somebody said very eloquently that when women want to show contempt for one another, they shower each other with compliments and support and praise. But when men want to show affection for each other, all they do is talk shit to each other and kind of run each other into the ground. It's just one of the key differences between men and women. Obviously, those are sweeping generalizations, but in the case of these 3 characters, it does not seem as if they're, whatever rivalries and baggage they might have from their early days growing up together, they're still hanging on to a lot of it, and I expect there'll be some face slapping and some cat fighting and shit talking and all kinds of good stuff between the 3 of them between now and the end. Carrie Coon, who was so good in that show The Leftovers, she definitely seems to be suffering from some lingering trauma, so we'll see how that bubbles to the surface. But I suspect, and I'm going to make a prediction right now, of the 3 women with their wellness instructor, that guy who's just like nothing but glistening muscle and like mellow attitude, I think Carrie Coon's character is going to be the one that goes to bed with him instead of the TV star played by Michelle Monaghan. But I do love Michelle Monaghan as well. Like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, she was fantastic. True Detective, she was fantastic. I enjoy her in the Mission Impossible movies. Massive fan of Michelle Monaghan. And as far as the other stories go, nothing's really got my attention yet, except for that weird tension between the 3 children, where the oldest brother seems way too preoccupied with his sister's, sex life and whatnot, and saying that she's not allowed to spend the night in the room with his little brother. Like, he seems very territorial and very curious. So there's something weird going on there. And as the teaser for next week suggests, he definitely starts poking his nose into her business a little bit too aggressively. She seems to be on some sort of Buddhism kick, and I can totally relate. A girl that I dated back in college, she went through a Buddhism phase, so I feel her father's pain as she embarks upon that journey, but I suspect it'll be a journey that becomes very sincere and rewarding over the course of the season. I just don't know how dramatically compelling that'll be. I worry that Mike White is trying a little bit too hard to give this movie a little additional emotional depth or heft or purpose at the expense of the entertainment value that made season 1 and season 2 so goddamn good. I mean, what's the name of the actor who plays the concierge in season 1? I'm blanking on his name, but he's basically, when he falls off the wagon and starts taking drugs and drinking and chasing men around the club and that sort of thing. I mean, it was one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen. Hang on, I gotta look up his name. Season 1, White Lotus concierge. Murray Bartlett, Jesus Christ, he was so fucking funny in the first season. And so I just hope that one character this season will emerge that's as dramatically compelling and just hilarious as Murray Bartlett was in that first season, where he just was falling to pieces, but at the same time, just like watching his interactions with the high maintenance guests and whatnot, it just had me screaming and laughing. I didn't laugh out loud once this entire first episode, and that bothered me, that alarmed me, because I just, throughout season 1 and season 2, I just laughed uproariously. But then again, because it's been a couple of years, perhaps my mind is playing tricks on me. Like perhaps season 1 and season 2 took a few episodes to really kind of get their footing, and then I started to fall in love with them. It's hard to know because your memory can play tricks on you. I just fingers crossed, will be rooting for season 3 to reach those heights, because I would love to have an excuse to be excited about watching HBO every Sunday night for the next 8 weeks, because I miss being a regular HBO consumer. HBO seems to be drifting sideways in terms of creating amazing shows and movies, whereas before the emergence of the Max platform, they seem to be so much better off. It almost feels like, apart from Netflix, creating streaming platforms has been ruinous for everybody else. Maybe Amazon would disagree, but it seems like with Disney Plus, it's ruined Marvel and Star Wars, and Max, it's ruined a bunch of HBO shows. Like, it's like Netflix seems to be the only company that's really like turned streaming into something that's exciting. Some might argue Paramount Plus because of Taylor Sheridan's shows, but if Taylor Sheridan ever signs a deal with Netflix, Paramount Plus will collapse like in a day. In any case, what else can I talk about? Who else have I ignored? You know what? If they're not popping into my head already, then I'll just have to wait and see if I get excited. I don't know if this the storyline involving Jason Isaacs and his financial, whatever bad deeds he's done in the past, that's going to inevitably lead to him becoming poor, as is teased in the trailer. Who the hell knows? That accent's gonna rub me the wrong way, because no matter how hard he tries to sound like he's from Durham, North Carolina, that English accent just keeps sliding through. And there are plenty of Southerners who aspire to be English, and they love English culture, and they're total, Anglophiles and that sort of thing. So maybe they won't mind. Maybe they'll be flattered that Jason Isaacs trying to do that accent, but I just feel like authenticity is so important, unless you're just like a master chameleon. Someone like, Gary Oldman is a master chameleon who can do different accents, or Daniel Day-Lewis is a master chameleon who can do multiple accents. It's tough to do, because I feel like sometimes it can become such a like a crutch or distraction for the actor. They are unable to be completely vulnerable as a performer. And like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he just spoke like Arnold Schwarzenegger his entire career, and it was delightful. Didn't matter where his character was from or who he was supposed to be. Even though when he was playing Conan a Cimmerian, he was from Austria, and that's just the way he was going to be. So yeah, Conan is Austrian for all time. So sometimes I feel like authenticity is the most important thing of all as an actor, unless just your craft is at such a level where you can just disappear into your roles and that sort of thing. In any case, hope this show will deliver. If it's amazing, I'll come back and review it periodically throughout the season. And if not, I'll just come back at the very end for a season 3 finale review. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Am I being too harsh in my criticisms? Should I wait in my rush to judgment? I get very impatient with TV shows very quickly. Like with movies, whether they're good or bad, you're in and out in a couple of hours, and no harm, no foul. But with shows, it's such a huge investment of time and energy, and it's such a commitment in terms of your schedule, that if you invest weeks or months of your life into a show and it becomes a disappointment, I get real pissed, real bitter, real fast. I tend to give up on a show after an episode or two if it's not pleasing me, but because I loved season 1 and 2 so much, I'm obviously going to stick with this one, come what may. But let me know what you think down in the comments below, and remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Hope everybody has an amazing week, but more importantly, as always, onwards and upwards.